Okay, I am going to do, first of all, this is a Stampscapes Impromptu live broadcast, and I just got my Brilliance re-inkers in, okay, and these are the types of inks that allow us to stamp, not only stamp, but to tone, blend, shade after making our impressions on non-porous surfaces, okay? You always use something like a StazOn or something like that to stamp on those non-porous surfaces, but it dries so quickly that you can't really do anything with that same type of ink post impressions. So you need something that's not going to dry so quickly so you can blend it, but you want the ability to heat set or allow to air dry. So we're going to do something with that. I haven't done this in a while because my black Brilliance ink was just dry, and I haven't gotten around to buying re-inkers. I buy them just like anyone else. And I wanted to get, I don't know what it is, like $50 or something like that. And you get free shipping from Imagine Crafts, okay? So that's where I get those from. They're the distributor for the Sukaneko products. So that's what I got for myself this week. Hello, Beth. Good to see you. Thanks for joining in here. We're doing a mirror card here, okay? Hello, Jeannie. How are you? All right, so I have this construction here. This is a quarter-page folded card, okay? It just happens to be purple. I'm not necessarily using it for the purple color, but this will be the construction of it here. Glossy cardstock on top, silver foil on the bottom, and that will be the interior like that. So if you've seen any of these videos in the past, that's kind of the makeup of this card. We'll see how this goes on a live stream. I didn't know if I should do a mirror card because this is so reflective and it's hard to see kind of what's going on. But the top portion will just be the standard glossy cardstock. Hello, Tammy, Marta. Hello, CM Hawkins. Good to see you. Thanks for joining in here. Let's see. What color should I do the top portion? Let's go with kind of a sunset color scheme here for the top portion. Okay, now, one of the things I should say is I'm going to be working my composition around one of the quotes here. Where did it go? Between every two pines is a doorway to a new world. So sometimes you can, read like a quote stamp or something like that. Hello, Tracy. And then you can work a composition around that. A lot of times I just do the scene and I think, oh, maybe I'll want to put a quote or something like that or a word stamp in an open space. But, you can do it the other way around too. The different quotes or phrases, that type of thing, can inspire a composition, and I thought I would do that this way. Hello, Don. Good to see you. Thanks for joining in here. I haven't done a live stream, and I don't know. I mean, it's just been a week, but it feels like it's been forever. I've been working on. Oh, if you've seen these other videos, some orders going overseas. I don't know. You don't get too many orders for wood-mounted stamps anymore, but I got that one for that for those large seaside coves. My gosh, talk about a large stamp, and it's going overseas of all places. So those things weigh like, I don't know, over a pound each. So who'd have thought, But glad to see that some people, I don't know, are still using wood stamps. All of my new ones are unmounted, in terms of practical purposes and whatnot. And I don't know, just the the trends of the last, I don't know, not recent, but 10 years or so in terms of cling stamps, unmounted stamps, etc. But I'm glad to see that there's still wood manufacturers out there. I have to write to my guy every now and then because I don't order wood from him very often and say, hey, are you guys still around? You know? And yeah, they are. Anyway, let's see. Good evening. Oh, from Maine. I love Maine. Every time I see Maine, I daydream about Maine. I used to say, if you haven't been to Maine, to everyone, get out there, Acadia National Park. But these days, my gosh, that park is so small. I mean, you can go out there in Maine in general, but I love that Acadia National Park. That was, I don't know if that's my favorite park that I've been in, but as far as like a trip, you know, one visit, that was amazing. Okay, and now I'm doing a sunset scene here, and I'm going to have these pines here, and there's going to be they're going to be kind of like on a shoreline, and they're going to be, hopefully they're going to be reflected in this water type of scenario down here. Okay, so I'm going to put these rocks down here. This is my general concept right here. And I'm going to put these pines right here, and I'm going to put in the distance these mountains, okay? So maybe I'll have some light beams or something like that coming in there. Kind of in the spirit of this quote stamp, you know, a doorway to a new world. So we want that kind of that new world type of thing. I don't know if it's a sun, maybe it's a sunrise. Maybe that's a little bit more kind of in line with that quote, but anyone can interpret that the way they want. So this is going down here. I could stamp out my stamps first, but I'm just going to do the background first. So that's what's going on here. And I'm using dye-based inks on glossy cardstock. Beth, new to Stampscapes, love what you see. Glad you're enjoying what you're seeing. Stampscapes is, we were the first, I was the first scenic stamping stamp company out there, and everything that you see, if you watch a lot of my first videos, a lot of people ask, hey, do you have to use glossy cardstock? And I'm using it right here, but we'll be stamping on some foil here too, okay? Someone asked me about colored pencils today. What brand do you use on that? Some people use pastels, chalks, etc. So just remember that, you know, whatever you see being used on here, stamps are stamps, and they can be used with any type of media that you like. If you like to go for a real postcardy kind of a real deep saturated look like a postcard, well, glossy cardstock is the stock that professional printers use for printing, you know, postcards, posters, bookmark, you know, book covers, whatever, what else, business cards, etc. So that's what I'm going for on this one. I wanted to go for a lot of deep, kind of saturated, kind of intensity on this one. So glossy cardstock's a good way to go for that. But if you want kind of a more mild, kind of a mellow look, what is there? I don't know. All of you guys can fill in here. Matte cardstocks, colored pencils. I don't know, the oxides. The oxides are a little less mellow in terms of their intensity, but they have their own kind of really cool characteristics. So always fun stuff. Candy will watch till they fall asleep. I hope they're not asleep now. Where'd Jeannie go? I always put Jeannie to sleep. But anyways, two colors right there. Hopefully you can see a little bit of a kind of nice color intensity and saturation. And that's just from two colors right now, okay? As I move through kind of a range of tones here, you can put together any kind of range. And what I teach people in my classes is just to kind of to pick out a range of colors. As you can see, I'm mixing and matching brands here. And just kind of line them up, going from light to dark, and then just apply them in that order there, okay? If you can't tell what colors darker than the other one, you know, it's like, okay, which one, you know, is stronger in value between these two, you know, I don't know. So it doesn't matter. You just kind of put those in. But you can usually tell if something, I can tell this brown is like darker than this one. So of course, go with the lighter one first. And when you do that, you don't have to change your applicator. You just go darker, darker, darker. Yeah, Tammy, I'll post more dates. I'll post them every month. But yeah, I didn't advertise those classes at all. There were some people that bought the multi number of classes, so I just sent out the notations to all of them first to say, hey, you know, some new classes are up, and a couple of people are signed up for them. But I don't know. I didn't announce. I didn't make a really formal announcement of it. I just kind of posted it on the workshop section. So anyways, yeah, I'm teaching skies, highlights and details. I didn't know if the foil one would go off because I needed to find out if people can get the Brilliance inks for that, because those are definitely needed for that foil class. So I'll probably just cancel the foil one. You can get the pads right now, the Brilliance pads, and I'll be using the Brilliance pads on this mirror card here for this silver foil down here. But one thing that people are having a hard time getting right now are the reinkers on white. So, or with the white, what color is that? Moonlight white. So apparently those are on order from the distributor, which is Imagine Crafts, coming from Sukaneka, I'm imagining from Japan. I don't think that's coming from China. I'm guessing they manufacture actually in Japan, but I don't know. But I guess it's on some cargo ship somewhere, like everything else in the world. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we should just wait on that one. Okay, so anyways, getting a little bit more of a stronger color glow here. I will need to stamp out my mountain in here at some point in time, so I can kind of go in and specifically tone in different areas that's going to be in. But you can get these kind of base colors down just ahead of time. No problem. I'm just using, people have asked after the fact. I know, I forget to mention that I am just using just a standard paper towel here. For my ink applications, use whatever works well for you. This is going back to, I don't know, the early 90s, 80s, when there weren't really any accessories out there for stamping. Not specifically made for stamping, but I don't know. You can use kind of anything you want. I have some kind of household sponges that work just fine in terms of the application process, but use whatever works best for you. Okay, all right, now I'm going into magenta here. It's kind of giving it more of that kind of sunset-y look, isn't it? Like that, by the time you get to that color. Sometimes it doesn't look like anything until you get to a certain color, okay? A certain layer, maybe. And I would say that this certainly kind of starts to give me a feel of that time of day that I'm kind of going after. I put Jeannie to sleep, everyone. She says I bore her too much to stay conscious. I'm joking. She says I lull her to sleep. Okay, so anyways, that was magenta there. This pad is like totally crumbling right here. This is like a 30-year-old pad, but someone just recently gave me instructions for getting that out. I don't know, they got it out with a palette knife or something like that, or just a regular, knife, and scoop that out and put this other thing down there. So if you have old Marvy pads, I guess don't throw them away anymore, because they don't make the blank pads anymore, and they don't sell, dedicated pads. So you can repurpose, well, not repurpose, but kind of reinvigorate or whatever, reassemble your pad using different materials there. And I've heard it works great. So I don't know, I've got these types of tips from like people like you. So anyway, 2 hours from Acadia. Oh my gosh. I hiked Acadia, like, I mention this all the time, but I don't know, like I said, I always daydream about that park. But when I was there, I don't know, it must have been, boy, has it been? I don't know, maybe it's been 18 years at this point in time. I was hiking that park practically, I had that park like to myself. I was parking in parking lots and I'd look around, and I was doing it during the weekday. I guess it would be the off season, but it was peak color though in the fall there, and it occurred to me, man, there really aren't very many parking spots in a lot of those trails, a lot of those trailheads. You know, there might be like 12 spots or something like that, and I might be the only one parked in there, you know. And I certainly didn't see very many people on the trail once I got in there. So it wasn't like people were getting there. You know, when I got back to the car, the parking lot's full or anything like that. There might be one or two other cars, if that. But pretty much had the whole place to myself. Now, if you don't get there by, I heard like 10 a.m., like every parking spot in the entire park is filled up. So a little bit of a different experience. I'm glad people are out there enjoying it, though. That's for sure. All right, so anyways, this is brown there. It's kind of giving it more of that smokier feel, kind of mellowing it out a little bit. Etsy and a pinch for inks. Got it. Yeah, and for the Marvies, too. Marvie, it's right on the Uchida website, so, you know, you can get any of those Marvie. Anything that's, you know, available from Marvie, unless it's been discontinued. You can just get it on the Uchida website. Okay, so anyways, you see how that's kind of getting in there and kind of giving us that nice kind of horizon type of feel. I guess it's time right now for for our imagery to get that down. All right, so this is going to be this rock on the side of it. It's going to be a lakeside type of situation here, maybe like the Sierras or something like that, with some granite down here at the base, waterside type of thing. Yeah, the pines are growing right out of the rocks, but you do see that in the Sierras. I don't know. I think it's like those trees somehow get like a stronger foothold if they're kind of anchored down into a crack or something like that, you know, between like fissures in the rocks. So anyway, let's see here. Let's get this out of the way here. Hello, PJB Stamper. Good to see you. Thanks for logging in or whatever, checking out the live here. Okay, so I'm going to be stamping this just in dye-based ink. So anything I do on the glossy here will be on the dye-based inks. Okay, I think. As I say that, I'm thinking, well, I could use the Brilliance on there too. Let's go with the dye, okay? I want to do as minimal heat setting as I need to, and with the Brilliance, I'll have to heat set. Yeah, I'm due for another visit, that's for sure. I thought that for years. In fact, when I went that one time, I said to my friends, I said, hey, I'm going to be out there in between workshops, which were like Saturday and Sunday over there in West Rockport. And the next week on Saturday, so I had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I had 5 days off. I didn't hike Acadia. I think I hiked it 4 days because I was traveling to and from there. But what was I? Oh yeah. When my friends saw those photos when I came back, man, they were really bummed that they didn't take me up on the offer to join me out there. I don't know, it might have changed the experience because, like I said, I had that whole park to myself. You know, I would have been hiking with other people, which is fun. It's a fun experience, but I don't know. There's something to kind of having something all to yourself. Not that I'm a selfish hiker or traveler. I prefer it, and I did ask them. I even asked my sister, and she made it out there like I don't know 4 or 5 years ago because it always stuck in her that she missed out. Okay, so these are just the tops of those rocks. I didn't want to put it too far up, okay, because this is a small amount of space here. So see, this is my mirror card situation. So see how that's going to be on the water's edge right there? Okay, I'm going to have some pines right here, kind of reflecting in my water down there. But these mirror cards, I'm telling you, they make for a pretty dynamic construction, and I love reflected light. And with a mirror, you know, something like a chromed out kind of mirrored surface there, you can't get much more light reflection than something like that. Okay. I guess, I don't know, do they actually, I don't know if there's a more mirrored type of paper that we can use out there, something that's like an actual thin mirror. I don't know. I mean, something like that would break though. So, you know, if you're shipping it around or, you know, mailing it around. Okay. So the quote, if you've just joined in, the quote is a John Muir quote, between every two pines is a doorway to a new world. So I wanted to do something that was a scene that was kind of evocative of that, because this quote stamp, okay, is going to go on the outside of my card, like something like that, maybe with some little icon or something like that. But I taught at the Silver Fox. That was, who was the owner of that company and store? I don't know. I got a bad memory, but like I said, it's almost been 20 years. I think I did teach there. I didn't teach there on that trip, though. On the trip that I hiked Acadia, I taught at Penn Ventures, and I think that was the only place that I taught. But I think I taught at the Silver Fox on my previous trip out there, and I taught at, I don't know, 4 stores on that trip. There were quite a few retailers at that point in time in Maine. Boy, I can't remember the names of them. Stamp. I think Maine was in the title of one of them. Okay, I'm not even going to try to remember. But one of them, I love Maine. It was the spirit there too, of the stampers too, because one of the stamp stores was also a tanning salon. So you had people coming in, you know, with their tanning appointments and stuff like that. And then there was another room, you know, where we were doing stamping. So I don't know, it was interesting to see. And another time I was teaching in another place, and it was off season, so I was teaching in an ice cream parlor that was not in operation during that time of year. So I don't know, I just love how people may do, and people are tough out there too. You know, people are talking about the electricity going off for 2 weeks, you know, like during the winter at one time. They're like, yeah, you know, it went off. And it happens sometimes. And then, of course, there's the scenery, so, oh my gosh. Okay, so anyways, what I've done here is I've added that toning right down there, right, to kind of create a base to this. Let me show you what this is going to look like, too. So see how that looks like where it's going into the water, too? See how those shadows work down there? Kind of at the water's edge. So usually, kind of at the water's edge, you'd have a little bit of a shadow type of formation. But again, with a mirror type of situation like that, I don't know. I think it's really cool to have this kind of construction like that. Where's the fire going on? Is someone in New Mexico or something like that? I heard there was a fire here in, I don't know, just north of me. I don't know. I haven't been following like local, like I'm in San Diego, but Los Angeles is you know, not too far north. And I heard there was a fire up that way somewhere. Okay, so the two pines, right? So just going with black here. All right. All right, now for these mirror cards, I like to go fairly bold because you have that reflection in that mirror. Okay, so I guess you can go delicate, but I like to go a little bit bolder because of that reflective quality that we're going to have here. So anyway, okay, so I'm masking off my ledge stamp. Kind of undermask it though a little bit so you don't get that space in between there. Oh, mainly stamps. I think that might have been it, yeah. And then let me see. What was the mainly stamps one? Where was that the one with the tanning salon? And oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of that. I don't know. There were quite a few. There were okay. So there was enough main stamp retailers that the reason why I was there is because of that show. Oh my gosh, I used to remember. I can't remember the name of that show that they used to have, but it was with the main retailers, and they would put on a convention. Oh, and I think what their kind of model was that they would each carry a different line of stamps from a different manufacturer that they carried. Unless, like Silver Fox, she made her own stamps, right? So, so she would have, she would have been selling her own. But Penn Ventures carried Stampscapes at that show. Okay, and I think the show was in Augusta. Okay, so we have that right there. All right, so see where we're kind of getting here. Between every two pines is a doorway to a new world. Here, let's take a look. I always like to take a look as I'm doing this thing. It's like, if you're a chef, you kind of keep tasting. So when it comes to like a construction thing like that, look at that. Isn't that starting to kind of look pretty cool? Now we have this area down here, right? Okay, so that reflection doesn't cover it unless we go like that, okay? So that's why I'll be stamping things down here to fill in that space. But this is kind of a dynamic construction when you open a scene up. When someone gets a card like that and they see that, I don't know, it's just a different experience, I think, for someone to get a card like that, to get that kind of construction. So it's kind of a card, you can kind of see it as like a card that's kind of inside out. Normally you would have, the card, the conventional thing is to put everything on the outside and have some kind of writing or quote on the inside, but this is going to be something, I mean, you could put a whole scene out here too, but in terms of kind of sequential aesthetics or something like that, I would kind of keep it, smaller on the outside, and then when they opened up, then you get kind of more of the dynamic type of, I don't know, whatever experience or whatever for the recipient of the card, or just for yourself. I mean, making these cards for yourself is kind of fun too. All right, so I might put a cloud down here just to make a transition up into this mountain. I could put that mountain there, but sometimes that ledge stamp will blend into that top mountain. Okay. Is that where the fire was, Alysso? Oh, yeah. I think it was Laguna Niguel too, right? That's what my mom told me. Hello, Beverly. Good to see you. All right, let's go with these clouds. Now, I'm thinking, do I want to stamp these clouds in black? I think so, because I'm kind of going very bold with the imagery up here. I could stamp this cloud in a color out of my color scheme in here, okay? Like a brown. Okay, let me do that, okay? I'm going to do this one in brown here. All right. All right, so with this cloud stamp right here, I'm going to be blotting off this edge right here, okay? I'm probably taking off a pretty good amount of the ink, but I'm not taking off everything. Okay, so see this where the billows are going up like that? I'm wiping off that side right there. And you can wipe off a little bit of this bottom side as well, like that. Okay, so that it transitions from a real wet, clear impression to kind of a faded out one right there. And when it fades out on this edge right here, it'll fade into the next stamp a little bit more gracefully. So that being said, you know, when I ink up this stamp right here, in this transition zone down here where it fades off into the bottom, you can kind of wipe off some of that ink like that, and that will fade into the cloud. Okay, so your transition zones, I'm not talking about, you don't do that with like solid stamps or something like that, but anywhere where you see these transition zones where it fades off on the sides, if you want to, you can just kind of blot them off like that so that everything kind of blends together a little bit more seamlessly and gracefully. Okay, I don't do that on everything because, you know, but you could. And it's, especially with the sky figures, you know, where it's like, you know, they're not solids. They're, you know, usually represent something like open space or I don't know, vapor, you know, with clouds or like an aurora borealis or something like that. It just represents kind of different versions of light, okay? Okay, so getting that stamped. I'm stamping this one in a dark brown, but like I said, we could have went with black if we wanted to. All right, so that is there. So it's a little bit more mellow. It kind of sits back, sorry. It sits back from this black a touch, you know, not, you know, drastically or anything like that. But it's a subtle little thing. And like I said, if I stamped it out in black, it would look fine too. Okay, so ink up, wipe off. Take this. I'm not even going to, you don't need to mask off anything out here. And this is dark down here. So I'm just going, I inked up this whole thing, but I'm just going to stamp it out right here. No masking needed. Okay, so there's an extra little cloud right there. Okay. Hello, Phyllis. Good to see you. You caught a live stream. All right, so Phyllis, what we're doing is by the way, that is P wrench. For those that don't know, I should just refer to everyone as their screen name so everyone knows who I'm talking about. Okay, so those clouds are down there. So Phyllis, what we're doing is we're stamping a mirror card, okay? And this is going to be the top portion of it. So see those clouds right there? Let's take a look and see what those clouds look like now in the reflection, like so. Okay, you see it like that. All right. And now the things that show up a little bit more prominently are the things that are lower on the horizon there. Okay, so let's get that mountain stamped in there. Okay. And I'm going to do it in black. Okay, so inked up, transition zone. We'll wipe off like that. And where I wipe off the bottom portion, that's the portion that'll be going into those clouds. But I'll also mask off the clouds a little bit too. You don't need to do it too carefully at all, right? And we'll go like that. You see where I'm under masking it like that? We have a lot of the clouds showing, right? So we'll get this stamped out like so. Hello, Jen. Okay. I'm putting a little bit more pressure because I do have these paper towels. Although they're very thin, you know, they still are a little bit of a ridge, you know, so we have to use a little bit more pressure there, and you get that good transition of that mountain into the clouds, into the ledge right there. Okay, so let's create a little bit more separation between that ledge, the mountain in the background and those clouds. Okay, let's take a look though. Okay, and see if that mountain's going to even show up in that reflection down there like so. It does pretty good. Okay, like that. All right, so where do you shade? Where do we have an opportunity for shadows within a scene? Okay, so on these stamps right here, there are different shaded areas, okay? And I'm just going to go in here and just reiterate that with some additional tone, okay? And I'll do it with very light colors at first, okay? So just like I worked from, you know, my lighter tones to darker tones when adding the background colors down, I'll do the same thing with, you know, different pens. So, I mean, you can get different colors if you want to. You know, something like this, some grays or some browns. These are alcohol pens right here. And just start light, you know. I start almost light, so light that you really can't see very much of a difference, you know. Okay, now my impression's a little bit wet, but if that was dry, my alcohol pens would not be smearing any of it. It is smearing a little bit. It's picking up a little bit of that black there, but not a problem because I'm not going into my lighter areas anyways. So if I am kind of blending out some of that black into the color that I'm using, hey, all the better, you know, because we're trying to blend these colors anyways, right? Okay, so there's that. I don't know if you can see, but I think the mountain is getting a little bit more kind of three-dimensional that way too, when you reiterate those shadows. And of course, it's kind of picking up those the lighting on there too, right? Because if you make an area a little bit darker, the areas that are lighter next to it seem one step lighter. Hello, Cheryl. Good to see you. Hello, Donna. Donna, you're not too late. But thanks for joining in. For those that have just joined in, we're doing a mirror card construction, so it's kind of just a little bit of a added thing we can do. If you have some silver foil, like this one, it's real mirrored, this particular one, and it's just a really fun thing to do. Any type of water type of you know, situation, it's really fantastic for that. And I'll show you what I mean by that, by the mirror construction here in a second. Okay, so I'm going into these areas right in here that are shadowed or shaded. See what I mean? I try to make all my images that aren't solids tonal, okay? So when you're deciding what, you know, areas to color in or to add shadows to, all you have to do is refer to the image itself, and I've added in all that information already in the form of the stippling technique. So I'm just going in, even for myself, you know, I mean, I drew these images, but I'm just kind of reiterating what I did in my drawing here. So I'm going in and kind of fleshing in those shadows even more with colors or additional tone, grayscale. And it just makes them look a lot more three-dimensional that way. Okay, let's do something here too. Okay, now, so my inks are drying, and they're getting a little bit more, a little bit anemic here. So what you do, okay, so I say that, but one of the things, what happened to my other applicator? Here's my applicator. If you already have one around, might as well use it. Okay, so when things get kind of dried, they might dry duller looking, okay? So, I mean, we're just going to spray seal these anyways, but you can kind of fine tune here as well. Okay. Okay, around my trees I'm going to tap because those tree tops are a little bit wet still, okay? But look at that. See that? How much more kind of saturated those tones look now. And also, let's throw a little bit more of a vignette around this too. I think this will read really nicely by throwing a really strong vignette around it when it comes to the mirror card down below, okay? All right, so that was more of that brown. That didn't really make it any darker. It looks a little bit more saturated and bright though, doesn't it? And let's go into this brown right here that I used on those clouds. And I think we'll even go to black right here in the corners too, because I'll do the same thing on the lower section of this card too. I wanted to do a vellum top piece right here, but I'd have to go outside during the this live stream, and I'd have to, you know, spray some spray adhesive on the back of vellum in order to do that type of card. And like I said, I don't want like people to have like 3 minutes of dead, you know, nothing on this live stream. So I don't know, maybe sometime in the future I'll do something like that. It'll be your I'll say everyone go take your snack break, go to the snack bar, or you go bathroom break or whatever. Okay, so going with the black here. Time for dinner. Goodbye. Thanks for joining in. Hope you have a great dinner. All right. Look at what that did there. Black really changes it, doesn't it? It really makes for a strong vignette. This is it's kind of, I mean, I would do this anyway, but it kind of goes along with the spirit of the quote too that I will be using, you know, the doorway to a new world. You know what I mean? It's really kind of framing off this view here. And we really want to kind of, I don't know, what's the word? Kind of emphasize that expansive, you know, look in that general direction there, okay? All right. All right, so that is that. Let's take a look now. Let's see how this is reading. What we want, or, you know, what I'm hoping for is to get a really strong visual for that reflected area down there like that. Yeah, just like so. Okay. Sorry. My camera just does not focus well in these live streams for some reason. When I bring it up here, it usually refocuses instantly when I'm doing it for the, you know, the regular videos, but yeah. Okay, so anyways, you see that strong glow down there in the water area? That's what I want, you know. Okay, so let's add in, I'm going to do something else up here. I think maybe like a star or something like that. First star of the Twilight or something like that. Not Twilight the series, but time of day. Okay. All right, so this area down below, I'm not going to change too much from my imagery used above. Okay, I'll go with another ledge down here. Like, you know what I mean? It could be like this, I don't know, not really a lake, but kind of more of a pools of water formed in, what do they call it, vernal pools, is that, or something like that? Those kind of seasonal pools that are created, you know, but it's not like a year-round type of thing. Down here. So I basically want some foreground down here. Okay, so here's the thing. The imagery stamped in black. I mean, you can see this. This is silver, okay? So if I'm reflecting a lot of light in there, it's light, it's white, right? But this is just in general kind of the look that you're going to be seeing. I mean, it's always going to be at some different angle, and it's going to be like a mirror showing whatever's in the, whatever the line of sight of that. So what we have to do, and this is when I got my re-inkers for, is so that I can do some blocking out, all right? So we need to block out areas of the foil that I don't want to be really reflective because the imagery stamped in there, if stamped in black, will just disappear, right? So I'm going to stamp this down below here, and anywhere where I'm going to stamp that out, I want some of this white, okay? Or white like this. Okay, so you don't have to pre-stamp this out and kind of figure out everything in here. Okay, it's not like that. All right. So here's what you do with a cotton ball. This is the part where I kind of forget to mention a lot of times. I'm taking this cotton ball. Okay, it starts off at a certain volume like that, and I'm probably making it about half the volume and condensing that because you can see it's all kind of furry like that, right? So I want it denser, okay? And okay, this is the Brilliance inks because this will dry on this type of surface here. Okay, now this is what it's going to look like. It kind of frays like that, okay? This one didn't fray as much. Now I'm trying to make it fray and it's not doing it. Okay, it's a little bit, because when you smash it in here like that, it's kind of pulling away, and you can see that loose area. So what I found recently is just kind of take it like this and kind of swirl it around like that. And it just kind of flattens everything out. Do you see how flat that is? And then you're also kind of pushing some of that ink, which I almost see it like paint, back into the surface a little bit. And that's what you want right there, okay? So that when you start applying this down, it's not just like, you know, kind of totally unraveling your cotton ball and making it frayed it's not fraying everywhere. All right, let's make some space here. Okay, so just in general, you know, the rock's right down here. I'll probably use about this top 2/3 of it or so. Where would that be? Let's see, it's about roughly right here, okay? All right, so this ink will dry on non-porous surfaces, but it's not so dry that it's going to, you know, you can't alter it. That'll wipe right off if I want to, okay? It'll even wipe off even after I dry it, even after I heat set it, okay? It's not like a stays on. That being said, what we'll do is we'll spray seal this, not in this video here, but I will spray seal this construction of this piece when I'm done. If I wasn't shooting this video, I would spray seal this separately before I, you know, attach it to the card. But we're going to do a whole kind of construction of this card, and I'll just spray seal after the fact. Okay, so anyways, that's where that image, the ledge stamp, is going to go. Okay, and what we need to do though is if we stamp out the black right over the top of this, we're going wet into wet, all right? And if we do that, sometimes you stamp into it and then you pull this off and it's like, oh my gosh, I've just removed all the ink. You know, I didn't transfer that wet ink down. I have removed the wet ink that was already applied. So what we're going to do is we're just going to heat set this one. Okay, so let's see if you can see this dry. It's hard to tell when the white is dry. You can really tell with the black because it goes from something that's really glossy and shiny and wet looking to flat looking, flat black. All right, now I don't know if that's completely dry. I mean, I can test it. Yeah, it's pretty dry. Okay. Now see, I can still take, you know, I can still wipe that off if I want to. Especially on this foil. Not on all foils, on those cheaper Recollections foils, okay, which I love using. Those ones are a little bit more porous. So, the ink on those ones kind of sticks a little bit more, but on this very mirrored one, you know, I mean, that is a really sealed off surface right there. That's what's making it so mirrored and shiny. Hello, Paper Genius. Okay. All right, so we're going back with this stamp, except instead of stamping it in the dye-based ink, I'm stamping it again in the Brilliance ink. You probably could stamp. I have done experiments where I've stamped dye-based ink on top of the dried Brilliance white, but I'll get a much darker impression and thicker impression with the pigment ink, okay? So it's not like, I'm not using like a VersaFine clay or something like that. I haven't tried that on top of a dry Brilliance. The Brilliance almost kind of provides kind of a pulpy, kind of paper matte surface in a way, that inks can absorb into, believe it or not. So I don't know. You might be able to get, use it in the pinch. I'm not sure. All right, so adding this in. Seal it with a Krylon or something like that. Your typical, whatever you'd spray seal, your standard card stock with, Same thing that would, spray seal this with. There isn't some kind of specialty pigment ink spray or something like that. Just use, anything like that. You can use a spray fixative. Acrylic spray. Okay, so see that right there? All right, let's see. Let's add this to the left and right side here. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and heat set this. I was going to wipe off that white kind of over application of it, but let's dry this first. Okay, it's not like embossing, but I thought I zoomed in because I thought, well, maybe you might be able to tell when that black dried. You see that black? It's not a super dark black. It is really dark black when you first apply it, but when it dries like that, it kind of gets a little bit flatter. It's not too bad. It's like an 85% gray or something, like maybe 90, but it's not too bad. Okay, so we have all this extra application of white, right? All right, so in a mirror card situation, I don't really necessarily want that there. When I'm doing other types of mirror cards where it's just all in the same scene, where I have like a light reflection in the water, then, then it's not bad. But on this one, I don't want that. So you just take this. This is just a dry paper towel. Or, I don't know, use whatever, works good for you. And I'm just taking this and taking that right off. See how that just wipes right off like that? I'm out of focus a little bit here. There we go. Okay, so take it like that. It's like removing powder or something like this, okay? Now I'm using a little bit of pressure on this, but it almost looks like I cut that image out like that on there. But look how, this is easy stuff to do. This type of ink and working like this, it's so forgiving. If I didn't like that, I can just wipe that whole thing off, it's not like it leaves any kind of residual, kind of ink on there either. Isn't that awesome? I sound like a salesperson for Sukaneko, and I honestly, I have no relationship to them at all, but I'm just, this ink and being able to stamp on something like this, and plus it's like completely forgiving. You can wipe it off when it's wet, you can wipe it off when it's dry, and then when you're done, you just spray seal it, which makes everything look better anyway. So I think just in general, it's a good idea to spray seal anything. Colored pencils or something like that, pastels. Different types of inks, even if you don't layer your inks down too much. Hello, Diana. Good to see you. Fingerprints on foil paper. Yeah, you see what I mean? I just kind of wiped off that. Yeah, like I'm touching this and handling it. I get fingerprints all over the place, but, You just kind of wipe it off like that. And I'll get really inky fingers when I start to apply some of these other Brilliance inks on here as well. But, you know, so be it, you know. Uh-oh, the husband oversalted the chicken. Oh my gosh. You can always add more salt, but you can't, it's hard to take it out, isn't it? You know, with certain types. Maybe you can make that, use the chicken, make a chicken noodle soup out of it or something like that. Okay, so hey, let's take a look and see what this is looking like right now, okay? So, okay, now that's like too white right there, okay? I'm going to tone it in so it look, you know, it's a little bit different than that, but here's what we're looking at right now. Okay. Now we need some foreground in here too, but look at that. When someone opens that, look at that nice kind of sunsetty type of view like that. But look at that. If you're in an area with like a forest fire going on right now, that might not be too, you know, tranquil or relaxing looking, but so I like that look. See what gets me too when I'm doing this. Do you know what is that thing called? It's where you can gauge distance from looking at something from a different, but see this thing right down here looks like it's moving at a different rate when you look at the reflection down there. See the top of that peak? It looks like it's on a different layer than this area right here. See like that? It looks super three-dimensional to me for some reason. And it's like I don't know, like a lighting or reflection phenomenon. Okay, so let's see, where are we working here? Let's see. Make permanent is to spray. Does that affect the non-stamped part? It could. So what you do is spray down here in this lower or wherever, you know, wherever you're not doing it. Yeah, you don't want to spray in the interior too much of the mirrored area because it could make it more of like a frosted looking aluminum or something like that. So I don't, you know, I mean, I might go, you know, something like this and just spray like that or whatever. And now see this imagery right down here. It's not like I'm touching it or rubbing it around. It's not like rubbing off on my finger. Okay, you know what I mean? So even if you don't hit it perfectly in the mirrored section of the card, you know, it's fine. It's not like people are going to get your card and go, oh my gosh, look, let me see this right here and rub it like that. You know, they don't do that on a regular card. So if you have a really light spraying on there, you know, no problem. Okay, I'm not thinking of depth of field. I'm thinking of that thing where it's like you can look at something from a distance. I learned this in astronomy. It's where they can tell like the depth of, you know, the distance of something from looking at it from two different points, and how much it moves is the distance. I'm not even explaining it well here. But hello, Jason. If I didn't say it, hello, Sherry. Okay, so let's add in some more foreground down here. Let me see. I was going to use... Okay, so normally I would put 2 more pine trees down here, but the quote is, between 2 pines is a doorway to a new world, okay? So I don't want to go 2 pines up here in the, you know, the other side of this, you know, this pool, and then have 2 more pines down here. That'd be like, you know, 4 pines or something like that, you know. So I'm just going for some larger type of imagery in the foreground here. Oh, let me do something here too before I do my foreground plant here. Okay, so with foil things, I do think in terms a little bit more in terms of sequencing than I do with dye-based inks. Like, you know, I couldn't put this white down over the top of the ledge, right? Because I'd white out all the imagery. So you have to lay that down first. Now this one right here, I'm going to do my shading right here with some additional tone on my ledge. Okay, so I want that ledge to be, have some light shining on top of it. But again, I want some shadows on here to make this look a little bit more to kind of dimensional, three-dimensional, etc. Okay, I can't take pens now and color that, okay? That'll just kind of wipe right off with alcohol inks, okay? So I'm doing that just with some additional Brilliance ink like this on a cotton ball. I'm not going right into my Brilliance pad and just going straight in there. Okay, it's going to be too much ink. What I'm doing is I'm applying that amount of ink at any given time right here. So this is kind of anchoring off the bottom of my card now, don't you think? And I think that ledge looks a little bit more three-dimensional. Okay. All right, I'm going to go slightly darker than maybe I normally would, because in theory, if we have kind of sunset colors like this shining in the scene, right, those colors would be reflected down on these rocks down here. But I don't have any Brilliance yellow or gold, you know what I mean, or something like that. Maybe I should. I'm kind of hesitant to get in those colors because I have a feeling they're going to be discontinuing some, and I don't like to use discontinued products in these videos, because inevitably people ask me about it. Hey, where can I get it? And, it's not good if you're doing kind of, videos like this to say, you can't get it. Okay, so I'm going to vignette this perimeter here. Hello, Deanna. Good to see you. Parallax. Jason got it. I was hoping someone would. Yeah, parallax. That's exactly it. Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to say synapse, but that's, between, like your muscles and stuff, or energy. Yeah, parallax. Exactly. I don't know. I'm getting that like a parallax in this reflection right here. I don't know why. It shouldn't be. Okay, you probably can't see what I'm doing here because, again, this is like reflected, but let me see if I can show you that. Can you see that black there that I'm adding around on the perimeter like that? You can see it a little bit. See it right over here and over here. So this is just kind of framing off the bottom a little bit more. I mean, that reflection of that top scene isn't going to, fill in this entire space down here. So let's close in the space a little bit with just some black ink, okay? And I mean, I'm not trying to, this isn't supposed to be like this kind of great expansive thing that, would be reflective of what we would see out in nature. We're making do with we're making do with a 4.25 by 5.5, piece of cardstock here to kind of be, to kind of catch the gist of kind of seeing something like this in a real type of setting, okay? Okay, so anyway, that is that. Do you see that kind of vignette worked around in there like that? That's the beauty of the Brilliance things. Okay, we can stamp out something like this in StazOn, but you can't, you can't blend like this with StazOn. It would be nice if you could, but that's not what StazOn is meant for. StazOn inks are, it's meant for like instantaneous drawing, like a permanent, like a Sharpie pen or something like that. Okay, but the good thing about it is you can heat set it, and it's pretty well set pretty fast. Okay, so that is that. Let's heat set this again, and then that will flatten everything out for my additional impressions to be used here on the perimeter. Here, let me get those fingerprints cleaned up. My smudgy, greasy fingerprints here. This is where I start to get a lot of fingerprints, and this is going to happen to you guys because, we're handling this I've got ink all around the side. You're going to be touching that, and it's going to remove like 100% of the ink. You know, just kind of expect that going into it, and just, you know, be prepared to reapply a lot, you know. When I start putting this card construction together, I'm probably, you know, I'm going to be flipping this around and putting some tape on the back. Ideally, I would kind of spray seal this ahead of time, so I wouldn't have to worry about that. But this isn't going to be ideal. So, all right, let's get some foreground in here. Let me show you, you know, with and without the foreground, okay? All right, so we have this right here. Look how three-dimensional it looks with this down here too, huh? It looks like it's really close to us. But see, there's that parallax thing with that mountain peak in the background, the very tip of that peak. Anyways, this is what it looks like. I really like doing this. It's like when you open up a card, it's like that, you know what I mean? I think that makes for a pretty dramatic card opening. I don't know. It looks like that's what I think. I haven't received a card like this before, but I just imagine it. It feels like it's moving to me. You know what I mean? It's not static visually. It is static, but it just doesn't look static. You know? I mean, you got that mirror thing, and it's kind of like raising up like that. So I don't know. I think that makes it for fun stuff. Okay, so let's add in these additional foreground images in here. Oh, that quote stamp can even go on the right in the water area right down here. I love the quote stamps stamped out in here. I think I'm going to save that for the outside edge, the outside of the card though. Okay. Go over here. I'm going a little bit high, you know, just to kind of vary the foreground a little bit. I don't want to stamp it right here in the middle. I like to create this kind of window. It's kind of interesting with this type of scenario here. It's almost like you're creating two windows. Okay, so I'm creating this kind of opening right here. Okay, so I have imagery on the left and right side. Now see, this imagery right here doesn't, you can't really see it, right? Because it's dark, you know, dark on dark like that. You can see it over that ledge, but let's see if that imagery, now this imagery on this mirror, let's see what it looks like with the scene, if it shows up at all, okay? So see that? Yeah, see that imagery? Look at those branches against that, like that. See, it's like, these are kind of invisible, but then when you show it in that lighter area, when something goes like that, look how three-dimensional that looks. I'm talking about these, like these branches here in the foreground, like that. Looks like that. I mean, this is, you know, like I said, this is a two-dimensional thing, right? It's just flat. I mean, I guess it's not two-dimensional. We have it like 90 degrees like that, but I don't know. It looks real diorama-ish to me. And of course, it doesn't have to be, because you can mail this out just like a standard flat card. I don't know. These things crack me up, how they look. In terms of the coolness, I think, you know. I get a kick out of it. I like those, I like that plant going up here a little bit more. I'm going to add in a little, let's see. Okay, here. Let's do something. I like those branches in that kind of light area there. But let's do it in back of that rock right here. Okay, so instead of having it all in front of the rock, see, I like this area of the rock down here, so I'm going to mask that off. But, okay, so we need to heat set these, right? So I can mask off right here and put some little, those branches above that, okay? CJ, yeah, get those stamps out. All right. Yeah, some birds flying across there would look pretty cool. I don't know. Well, I think it was up. If it was up here, it would look pretty good. But the birds won't reflect too far down here because they're really far up on that. So the birds would be like down here in terms of the reflection. But you could. I don't know. Maybe it'd make a stronger focal point. We shall see. Maybe we will add in some birds here. Okay, so this is starting to curl a little bit on me because of that heat setting. So just counter curl, and it will. Okay, now see, I'm getting all my smudgy fingerprints in it like that. See that right there? It's removing the ink even though it's dry. So, like I said, hey, that's part of the the deal, you know, that you make with it's part of the deal that we make with foils when we're working with them and pigment inks. Okay. Now here's the thing that I've thought about. Maybe instead of doing like these images like this with the Brilliance, maybe you stamp them out and stays on or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if the stays on would be darker, if it'd be lighter, whatever, but with the imagery, I don't know, maybe it's a good idea to do the stays on. I got a stays on re-inker, so I'll try some of that going forward. But okay, here. All right, here I'm going to get a better rip here. Okay. All right, a little bit more here. Okay, so this is one of those things. I have a video just dedicated to things like this. These are the little things that you can do to give your pieces a little bit more dimension, So in like areas like in the foreground like that, okay, having things be in front of your rock and in back of the rock like that can give your foreground dimension, okay? Let's see here. I have those little branches like that. Let me put a little bit more shading around it. Okay, let's see. I'm going to anchor those branches a little bit that I just applied with a little bit of tone, a little bit of shadow work. Okay, something like that. Heat set, not heat set yet. Let me get those fingerprints out of there. I would say on average, I probably do fingerprint repair 4 times per one of these cards. At least. Think of it as smudgy fun, though. Okay, so I added those in right there. Okay, so let's see what that looks like again. See if I want to do any additional impressions, okay? Before, this area down here almost looks like it's underwater. It's like coral. Okay, yeah, see that right there? Those extra ones helped, didn't it? Right here. Like that. And here's the opening. Yeah. All right, I think we're ready to construct this. Let's, all right. Cleaning up my mess here. When you're doing with the Brilliance inks, it's like, I almost see this as like, it almost feels like the feeling you get when you're working with charcoals or something like that and there's powder, you know what I mean? It's not quite that messy, but it almost is, as far as like working with a wet medium, it's the closest thing to like working with charcoal. It's because it, it gets all over my fingers everywhere. Sometimes it's on the, like, yeah, it gets on the back of my hands, whereas like working with like dye-based inks, I usually don't get it on the back of my hand, but for some reason working with, in this type of process, I get it. It's like it gets everywhere, okay? Now this stuff washes off really easy. The Brilliance inks wash off really easy. They wash off much easier than dye-based inks. All right, let's get this mounted up here. Okay. And again, these are just, this is a pre-folded 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I am the designer of the stamps. What I always say when people ask me that, excuse me, it's a lot of little dots. Some a lot more than others. A lot more, what I'm mentioning is all the stippling work in the designs. Okay, so adding this down, I should, well, okay. Just making sure I can still close that there. Okay. All right. When you're doing this type of construction too, where that other foil is going down there, leave a little bit of a gap between that first card up there and the foil part down here. I've never done it the opposite way. There might be some kind of thing where you have the foil up top and, you know, some kind of imagery down below. I don't know. All right, now this one's a little bit more fragile. Like I said, I would normally spray this, okay, but let's just try to do this right now and not lose too much of the imagery, okay? Oops. All right, you're going to see a bonus feature. Craft tape refill. Someone said they have one of these, and they kept getting, it kept clogging on them or something like that, or kept balling up, and I was thinking, I don't know how it would do that. Like on this one, on mine, I don't know, that tape doesn't even come anywhere close to that, you know, the top of that area right in there. They said it was happening with a couple different brands of tape of theirs. So, I don't know. That's the type of thing I want to know because, you know, if it happens to me, then I'll kind of know what to expect. But I just don't see where that was happening. But someone made a comment that they saw one of those, you know, the tape dispenser on my desk, and, you know, they said they couldn't stand theirs. But hey, what can I say? I don't know. I believe them. Okay, so that seemed to go on there just fine. Okay, look at this. See right here? See this ink right here? That probably came off when I was applying that ink on there, so, I mean the tape. So it probably lost a little bit. I can't tell around the edge like that, but here's the construction now, okay? Like this, and we're going like that. All right. So I have a little bit of that over, can you see that right here? That over application where it's didn't slide, you know, it didn't match up completely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim that off here. Wow, CJ. I hope you're back to 100%. But glad to hear that you are not bedridden anymore, as that would indicate the healing process, right? Okay, so cutting this off right here. Want to make it reasonably clean. All right, and down here, we'll make it flush. Okay. All right, so there we have it. I'm getting more fingerprints right there. Yeah, after you get it all applied, I mean, we can apply more ink there and heat set again. I mean, now would be the perfect time to do all that because you know, I don't have to handle this as much, okay? And I'm just going to take this out and you know, spray seal it, you know, upon completion. But okay, so let's see here. Let's take this and remember which way is up right here. So this is, you know, the closed card, and they'd be opening it this way, right? So just keep that in mind when you're doing, you know, something out here. You don't want to do it the other way around or something like that, and you know, have your whatever stamp registration off. Huh. Your tape guns dry out. Is that just from the non-use of it, Candy, for, you know, a while or something like that? Glad to hear it, CJ. Okay, let's see here. I'm trying to think of something else that I can use on this card. Okay, just going for kind of a nice even application of ink right here. All right. There's another quote stamp too that would have been good with the lake. But I thought I'd go for the pines on this one. And again, this would look really good stamped on that silver part of the card too, on the inside. I like that kind of floating text in the water look to that. But I wanted to just do something on the outside edge of the outside part of this. But okay, so you'd have a card like that. I think this would look good if I put like a little something down here. I don't know. That would carry on in the interior. So if someone has mentioned a bird, I could have like a bird out here. And then as they open it up, you know, maybe that bird would be, again, right over here or something like that. So this is kind of the process of opening up one of those cards. They'd go like this, and then they go like this, you know. And then they would, you know, if you kind of show them how this card would go, kind of the presentation of this card is kind of on the 90-degree angle like that. But if they look at something like that, you know, there's that water and sunset in there, like a little pool or something like that, water. But I just love that. I love that movement like that in the water like that. Now, like I said, down here, the thing that stands out to me a little bit is that could use a little bit of yellow. Okay, catching some of that warm tone. I might be able, oh, you know what we can probably do? I can probably spray seal this, okay? Down here with like a spray fixative, right? Where all of this image is set. And then I can go back in with like a, kind of slightly warm tone type of coloring like that, right? And I'd be coloring the spray seal as opposed to coloring some of that. So I can get some of this warmth down on there just by not going directly on there. So I'll do that. I'll do that in a follow-up video or something like that or whatever. I'll post you know, what that looks like here. But anyways, that is that. Yeah. I get a kick out of looking at that thing. So here we go with the pines. I think as far as the quote goes, if I didn't have something like all this in here, I mean, it would just, you know, it would be more minimal or something like that. But, and again, that quote stamp would look really good floating right down here in the water too, because it looks like floating text on that water, and it kind of reemphasizes kind of that three-dimensional aspect of it. You can do other things too. You can have like additional rocks out here on the water, you know. Oh, something like that out here to add additional imagery and whatnot. And I think that would look pretty cool. Okay, so anyways, let me do something up here too. Okay. Let's go with, let's kind of show the first, you know, first star of the night or some, you know, that kind of scenario here. I have a white and beige pen, okay, to kind of go along with that same color scheme. It's supposed to be more of like a twilight type of thing, but you do get some, you know, some stars kind of popping out, you know, at that time of day. And let's put something out there like that, okay. Candy has made mini scrapbooks. That's cool. What dimensions are those, Candy? Thanks so much, Sherry. A pain pump implanted several months ago. A pain pump. Wow. What does that do? Does it release something or something to control the pain? Sounds good, Jeannie. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to go too much with this, with these stars. Okay. I'll put some of these up just like that. Okay. And then I'll add in like a couple white ones too. So let's add in a little bit of, I'm going to add in a little bit of lighting in here too, okay? Some highlights on some of these peaks. Let's see, let me zoom in here like that. So I'll bring out a little bit more kind of controlled lighting, I guess you can say. I mean, this doesn't have to be done, but I think it looks pretty cool to have that little extra lighting or highlighting touch in here. Okay. See, it's just going along these ridge lines. So I'm kind of emphasizing a couple of these peaks that were already light to begin with, okay? So I'm not making like something like this down here super light, okay? Although I can just make it a shade lighter, you know, with a different color of paint pen. So this is the beige, and then let's see, I'll have to make an assessment if I want to use any of the white, because there's not a lot of white light in here. Actually, there's none. I got rid of all the white. There isn't any white, so maybe I shouldn't use any white in here. Okay, a little bit of light on top of, you know, some of these cloud billows like that. Okay, so that, and so let's see if that white kind of, yeah, see that white in the reflections stands out even more now. See that down there in the water? By having that little bit of lighting down there. I'm talking about like right down in here. It stands out a little bit more. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's put a little bit of lighting on top of this ridge ledge right here. And maybe this will create a little bit of separation between the foreground ledge and the background. I don't know. It could. Sometimes it separates things kind of from a distance standpoint, but it also it brings things together from a textural standpoint. because it's the same kind of lighting, you know, and texture at different distances. So, okay, let's see what that looks like here. Yeah, it's a little bit of extra lighting right on those areas right there. I'm not doing anything too extreme because it'll really stand out maybe too much if I do a little bit too much there. And it's because I got rid of the white of my card, you know. The darkest thing is that kind of area right in here, that tan or beige looking area. These are the 42 paint pen Artistro extra fine acrylic paint pens. I had a lot of these different ones, you know, the Meowsums, again, which are excellent and everything. And I've had Sharpies in the past, like a 5-pack of pastels. And then someone told me, oh, you can get like these big sets of those paint pens. And then I was like, where? You know, they were just on Amazon. And those pens have really answered a lot of the different considerations that I used to have to do. So if I'm doing a blue tone scene and white stands out a little bit too much, then, you know, I mean, there's so many different values of like blue and different temperatures of it. You know, I can go with, you know, a lighter version of a highlight or a darker version of a highlight that's not going to stand out as much. Or I can go for a range of highlights with something like this, and yeah, like a blue tone scene. So in a warm tone scene like this, where I thought maybe white would be a little bit too extreme, then I have the option of using like a beige or something out of that color scheme. Okay, so again, here's white now. Okay, so I have these white, you know, those beige stars up there, right? So I can add in, for a little bit of extra depth, I don't know if you can tell, but okay, no, those ones are white. I added them in different sizes too, but they're different colors. All right, so some stars, maybe they're closer, some are dimmer, older, whatever. So I can go for some variation. I mean, it wouldn't be bad to have like a yellows, you know, I don't know if I'd go like super yellow, but like a pastel yellow in there, you know, might look kind of cool. Something like that. That's at arm's distance. Looking at that, I don't know if that, yeah, no part of that really shows in the reflection down there, but okay, so that was that beige. And then let me do a little bit more fine tuning here. I'll put a little bit of a pop of white on some of these ridge lines, because that little point is reflecting down here at certain angles. So I want to really make use of that reflective type of, I don't know, pop of contrast up here. So see, I'm kind of adding it just right at the very tips like that. See how that's really standing out there? So, you know, again, it's just one of those things. I mean, I didn't use like a lot of those pens until last year when I got them, but they gave me the ability for kind of variation and subtlety. I need a drink, folks. I haven't done a live stream in a while. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's take a look at that again. So, again, card. See, you give a card like that to someone, they think, oh my gosh, what a boring card. Like that, and, you know, world of a different world or something like that. Isn't that fun, though? I mean, this is just something that's right in your hand. I mean, it feels like a little three-dimensional diorama, yet it's just like a folded, you know, flat card or something like that. But when it's like that, when it's paired like that, you know, it's like the sum total, you know, it's greater than whatever, the whole, what's that quote? You know, it's greater than the sum total of its parts or whatever. I mean, that to me looks a lot different in terms of what angle you're using it at or viewing it at, you know, like that. I don't know. It's fun stuff. Okay, so anyways, Froggy Fresh, hello, good to see you. Yeah, the moon rising behind the mountain. I do have one of these mirror cards where I have a actual glow in the dark mirror moon. Um, I don't know if it was behind a mountains. It might have just it might have been just like, above a lake or something like that. So you flip off the lights. If you had like a card like this with a glow in the dark piece for like a kid, what they do is they run and they charge it up in the light, and then they run into like a closet and close the door, and then they can see like this moon. And when you go like this, right, that moon kind of moves and it's almost like rising, in the reflections. So that's in another video that we've done there. So anyways, there's your mirror card. And then, like I said, this is just like one scene up here, And this is like, I don't know, it's not even like a scene. It's just like, stamping out some foregrounds. So I don't know, the two paired together like that, I don't know, it makes for a pretty dynamic card. And normally, this would be like something on the outside of a card, right? But you just kind of flip it on end like that on the inside, and there you have your kind of more diorama-ish looking construction there. Okay, so here, this is what I'm going to do here. So after all that, I've been handling it right here for this video, but this is where you just go back in. You can add in these extra, you can actually add in a little bit of extra vignette around here too. Why not add some more tone like this? I can go with my Brilliance ink up here, and we can kind of something, I don't know, I should probably add a little bit of something more on the outside. Like I said, like, some sort of visual bridge, like some birds or something like that would be kind of cool. Or something that has to do with like a lake. You can put like a little fish or something like that. Or kind of go along, I don't know, something in the spirit of that quote. I don't know what it would be. I don't know, anything. Or stars, I mean, here, we have a little bit of stars up here. And you can put a visual bridge out here and put like a couple little stars out here or something like that, right? Okay, so anyways, so I put another little layer of that tone around the outside perimeter like that. And there we have it. Okay, so anyways, yeah, see, I don't know if you can see there. Maybe there still is like a fingerprint right here. Just expect the fingerprints, and I don't know, it's like, just make peace with the fingerprints and this whole process, you won't get frustrated with it. But like I said, all I do is just take this out and spray it with a spray fix or something like that. Or use both, you can use like a Krylon crystal clear down here, or a UV resistant clear. Actually, I would just use the UV resistant on the whole thing. Okay, so my spray sealing process is going to look like this, okay? Let's see, I have my can of spray next to the door going to the outside, so it's always right there. But okay, so when I spray seal this, okay, I'm not going to use the triple thick on this one. It's just way too thick, okay? But just for example, okay, so when I'm spray sealing this, when I take this outside, I always spray outside. I'm going to cover up this bottom portion and spray it, okay? Spray the whole thing, spray from distance, standard spray painting type of process, okay? Maybe a 12 inches or something like that, spray. And then down here, for this bottom portion, I think what I'm going to do is I'll just take a piece of paper like that, and I'll hit this bottom portion, with a, decent amount of spray. Don't slather it, get it in dosage. And then maybe I'll go up a little bit higher and then hit it lightly so that this entire area right up here, okay, will be just the pure card as is without hitting it with spray, because that will tend to kind of give it a little bit of a foggy type of look, and it won't be so mirrored. Oh, I hit a little bit on the edge here. So you just go like this. Spray out here. Spray out here, okay? And let's see, let me get this a little bit too. This is all smudgy in here right now. from fingerprints here. Yeah, I've been showing you this card with it all smudgy on the inside here. Be careful, don't wipe off all that. You're just going to wipe off your imagery, your impressions, okay? All right, so that's a little bit better. So that's a little bit more mirrored like that, okay? All right, so anyways, fun stuff. Like I said in the beginning of this video, I received my Brilliance re-inkers that I just put off getting for a while, so I really needed the graphite black. I go through a lot of that ink when doing these types of cards, and you can kind of see why in terms of the application. I don't know, I guess I didn't use it a ton on this one, but I use it a lot, usually on my my non-porous surfaces. So anyway, mirror card, fun stuff, and I think rather dynamic and easy to do, okay? Especially if you're already doing a scene like that, if it's going to be a water type of scene, lake, whatever, pond, I don't know, ocean or something like that, then all you're doing is just adding in this kind of extra piece down here, foreground, and I don't know. The rest kind of takes care of itself when someone's opening your card. All right, so that is that for today. Thanks so much for joining in. CJ, would that need some time to dry before closing it? Well, yeah, or you just heat set it. The Brilliance inks air dry. It just, the speed of it, well, it depends on where you're located. If you're in Arizona or New Mexico or whatever, something like Utah, you know what I mean? Nevada, that's probably dry in, I don't know, half hour or something like that. Or what I've been doing is I've just been heat setting as I go in layers down here, okay? And heat setting takes like, I don't know, 5 seconds or something like that. All right. Okay, and now speaking of that, when this ink dries, okay, it dries kind of flatter and duller, okay? See, it's like a flat black, okay? When you spray seal it, it'll bring back much more of a kind of a glossy, deep, rich black look to it. Maybe not completely like what it looked like when it was, absolutely wet and glistening on your card, but it'll bring out, I don't know, maybe a 15% increase in the value scale. And, just black richness, you might call it, or something like that, getting closer to a freshly stamped, true black impression. But as is, it doesn't look too bad, but it'll look even better when you spray seal it. If you don't have spray sealants and you want to give it a try, spray sealing something, if you have some hairspray or something like that, you can also use that type of thing in a pinch. Okay, so anyways, and if you just logged on, the Brilliance pads are different than like your VersaFine Claire, okay? If you're doing something like this on here, you might have to emboss it, but, embossing on foils is its own little trick. You have to, kind of watch that you don't overheat it, or otherwise the foils could kind of, they can pucker, the foil, the actual metal can, I don't know, it can shrink on you, and the foils get a little bit more warped when we have to spend that extra time expenditure on the melting of that embossing powder. Okay, the Brilliance inks just dry, really quick. It takes like 5 seconds or something like that, like I said. So I don't know. If you like this type of thing, when I say just get your Brilliance pads, you don't have to get the full line of, I don't know, like 15 colors. For me, the two main ones are black and white, and re-inkers for each one. So, yeah. There's no catalog of my stamps like a hard copy, but it's all online on the Stampscapes website. You just go to stampscapes.com, go to the home page, and just click on stamps. Have to use Brilliance. Yeah, I think I answered that one there, Froggy Fresh. Okay, now Froggy Fresh, you can stamp out imagery on foil, okay? But if you're stamping out like with a StazOn on foil, okay? Now dye-based inks aren't going to dry on foil. Versifying clay is not going to dry on foil. This is an oil-based pigment ink. That'll never dry on something like a foil. Am I out of focus? Right here. And like a dye-based ink isn't going to dry on foil. It'd be like putting drops of like food color on foil or something like that. It's not going to dry. So you need kind of thicker style of ink, which would be the pigment ink, but you need the Brilliance inks because these ones are specifically designed to dry on those less than porous surfaces like a versifying clay can dry on like a matte cardstock or something like that. All right, but the Brilliance inks, foils, glossy cardstock, I could have used that Brilliance up here for these impressions too if I wanted to, like for those trees. Vellum, photo paper, the Brilliance will dry just fine. Let's say, did someone else have some questions? I don't sell Marvy inks on the website. I used to, but you can just get them right from the Uchida website, okay? You can't get the pads anymore, but you can get the re-inkers, okay? So I went in with my the way that I use my pads today here. Well, I stamped at an impression with this, but all these other colors I was just dipping in like that. But it's not any big deal to just take a re-inker and you just open it up and you put a little re-inker on your applicator and just apply it down. So all of the Marvy re-inkers are available on the Uchida website. Marvy's the line of colors within the Uchida website. So I think it's uchida.com, but if you look up Marvy matchables or matchables on their website, the re-inkers will come right up. And they're all up there. And I think with your first purchase, I just checked this recently because I was on their site looking for something, and your first purchase if you sign up on their mailing list, it's like 30% off your entire order. So I don't know. These inks are really fantastic and bright. You can see right here on the this scene right here, this will get much brighter when I spray it too. But the Marvy line of inks are just super, super bright. And I like using them, but I like using them in conjunction with kind of your duller, less kind of super vibrant inks like a Distress or something like that. So things like Distress and Memento, they make a pretty good combination with the Marvy. So you can have kind of less kind of vibrant and hot type of colors that are happening like right in here, and you can have the super bright up here with the Marvies or something like that. So it makes a good intensity range of colors from which to choose from. And then you can also dilute Marvy inks too and get a duller version like that too, but you can't necessarily make a dull ink brighter though, but you can make a bright ink duller though. And yeah. Yeah, I'll put some more class dates up there, Tammy. We'll be doing them at least one or two weekends a month, so stay tuned for those. Froggy Fresh had 4 Marvy pads, but had to get them from eBay. Yeah. Oh, if anyone ever looks for pads, if you see them with this embossed gold right here, that's going to be a really old style of pad. And the sticker ones are going to be newer, okay? Even the sticker ones, they might be 20 years old, okay? But these ones are like from, I don't know, like 30 years ago or something like that. It was a really long time ago that they had this stamped thing. That being said, I still have a lot of my super old pads, and they're still working fine. The fabric on some of them are starting to disintegrate. And I think specifically it was with this magenta one that I was mentioning when I used it earlier in this video, but you can see this pad is starting to really kind of disintegrate like that. See how smashed down it is? It should look like, like this, nice and fresh and crisp. But someone showed me what they did to just switch out that material with, I forgot what foam they used, but they sent me links to all of it after, it was after my previous classes, someone in the class switched out their pads. And we're saying this because Marvy, again, they don't sell Marvy dedicated pads anymore with that, you know, that color indexing. But they also don't sell, I don't know why they stopped selling these. Maybe they just didn't sell very well for them and they didn't want to place another order for them, but they don't sell these blank pads anymore that you can ink up with whatever color you want. So that was unfortunate, but I guess you can also get Marvy reinkers if you really wanted it in a pad form and then just ink up some other type of blank pad. The viscosity of the Marvy inks are thinner than most other types of inks. So I don't know, don't get a bunch of Marvy reinkers and ink up like 20 pads or something like that and find out they don't work really well for you. Ink up one and see if it works well for you. You want the denser the material, the better with the Marvy inks because they're thinner. So the denser the material, the more it will hold onto that ink without, you know, running out of the pad or something like that. So, but I've heard, I don't know. I knew someone that did that. I can't remember who it was, but they just told me that, yeah, they've re-inked a pad and it was no problem. But, you know, like I said, I get a lot of my inks these days in just re-inker form. I don't have any of these pads of the distress inks because I don't need them, because I have like a blue pad already, several blue pads that I'm using already, and I can stamp out my impressions on those ones. I just need these ones to add color in, so I just take these and put a few drops on my applicator, and I just, you know, sponge it into my scene. So these take up a lot less room, they have a lot more ink than a pad, and they're just, you know, they're just really convenient to use. I don't need them in pad form. Like I said, the only thing you need in pad form in certain, whatever colors you're using, is if you're going to make an impression out of it, right? If you're just adding this to like a little foam, you know, applicator or something like this, just going with a couple drops of that onto that applicator is all you really need to do. So, yeah. I do need to get some refills for my refills, though. This tumbled glass is out. I tend to go through a lot of my lightest colors the most because they get the most amount of coverage. When I get to like something like a real dark color, like on this scene above, it tends to be right around on the perimeters or something like that, where that yellow in there covered that whole space in there. That, lightest colors, and then black, and in the case of foils, white, right? So, anyway. Does anyone have any other questions or whatnot? Let me see. Dollar Tree, Frog Fresh, Dollar Tree clear containers, makeup applicator pads. Oh, interesting. Do you mean to use for your ink pads, you're saying, right? They're raised then? Where you can use them with stamps? That'd be kind of cool if you get them there. Certainly anywhere in the US, I think, as far as Dollar Tree goes. I don't know if our international friends can get something like that. Cut and dry pad. I think that was it, right? Yeah, that sounds really familiar. And they I don't know, they used something else too, they told me. I forgot what it was. At least for the Marvy pads, but yeah. Okay, folks. Thanks so much again for joining in. I think I need to go and make dinner too. I will make sure not to over salt, because that would be no good. I always undersalt everything so that people can add to taste, as they say. Track tiny craft containers with makeup sponge squares. Excellent. Oh, Marco's in Ohio? Yeah. Is Marco's in Ohio? I thought they were in For some reason, I thought they were in Illinois, but wherever they are, yeah, if it's Ohio, they might actually, Marco's might actually have some remaining blank pads, for all you know. Marco's is a good source for Brilliance pads too, and re-inkers if they still have them. They were last year, at least, when I was referring a lot of people over to them. But yeah. Oh, her old, wait, is that her old Marvy pad as a base? Was that? I thought she said she used something else. Oh yeah. You're saying not the pad itself, but just the case, the Marvy case, right? Um, oh, you can go to Marco's, huh? Oh, that's excellent. They're a great source for everything in terms of the accessories for the stamper. And the thing about Marco's too, if you don't want a whole ream of paper or something like that, you can get it in smaller quantities, or they would probably trim it. They probably have the 4x6 like glossies or something like that too, or quarter page. I don't know, maybe not. But that was one of those places too that back in the old days, they also had a bunch of the, oh, what was that paper called? I don't know. It was really, I don't remember, but anyways, yeah, they get a lot of the good stuff, and so they know what's really tailor-made for the stamper, even though it wasn't intended, but they know it works perfectly for us. So a lot of good knowledge over there as well. So yeah. Okay, so anyways, thanks again. Let's see a little close-up of this one. I might be out of focus right here because it doesn't focus in like that, but you can see that real kind of three-dimensional type of look to your folded card, and it makes for a pretty dynamic presentation, I think. We're always looking, we're doing things, we're presenting things to people, right? When we're making them a card. So I think that's a pretty fun, dynamic presentation for people. And I have one of these cards like this mirror card where I did glow in the dark up here too. Glow in the dark paper and stamped on glow in the dark. So, it turns it into kind of a nighttime type of scenario, or dark, where I always point out kids, but I would love to get something like that too as an adult. All right, so just spray seal. It's easy stuff, and we should all have some spray sealant anyways. I think it kind of really enhances even this area up here, which I don't have to spray seal, but it would just look better anyway. Oh yeah, someone, look up PJB Stamper. Look up Marco's papers online. They'll have that information on there as well. Or you can go over there with whoever mentioned there, real close to that there. Go and have a stamp meeting or whatnot. Yeah. See Marco's paper online. Okay, so thanks to all for joining in on the live stream. Exclamation marks. Thanks so much to you all. Signing off, and we'll see you on a future live stream. Thanks, Froggy.